The first question goes to Ariel. I, off the record, accidentally called you Ariel a few times because half the people you meet with the spelling of your name, it's Ariel, and half of them, it's Ariel. When did you decide to draw the line in the sand and go, it's Ariel, damn it?
I usually don't. Because I hate making people feel bad. But yeah, it's Ariel.
I love making people feel bad. So my name all the time. So
not by this guy. This guy knows it's Este. And Este, how did you and Ariel connect the first time?
Well, the first time I'd actually seen, I don't even know if you know this, Ariel, but I saw your work when you composed the music for my friend Nicole Delaney's short.
Thirsty, yeah. I think I did know that.
Yeah. So Nicole's one of my best friends. And
did you moderate a panel?
I
moderated that. Yeah.
Okay.
So Mutual Appreciation Society is what I'm hearing.
Yes. I mean, I think that we just both have really good taste in people that we want to collaborate with as well as friends. Because Nicole Delaney is up there. She is an amazing, amazing filmmaker, but also just an incredible human being. So we both had the honor and pleasure of working with her.
There you go.
Something really cool about working with friends too. I find that collaborating with people that, you know, you have kind of a shorthand with is really nice. And I definitely had that with a lot of the artists that I worked with on this project. But yeah, and I work with my sisters, so I'm just kind of used to, you know, working with people that I know pretty well.
A Partridge Family gone well. Well,
yes.
Ariel, rather than asking how you first found about Este, something that intrigues me about your credits is that you're able to work across all the streamers, a variety of networks. You're not just pigeonholed to only Nat Geo kind of stuff. So in your case, when did you realize, hey, I'm a composer for life as opposed to a musician?
It's funny. So, I mean, I think we'll always be both, and Este does both too. And it's always like, where do you want to put most of your time and energy? And I decided probably like 10 years ago that I loved the act of creating more than I did play, not more than I did playing, but I wanted to put a more of a focus and emphasis on that. I just really like collaboration, and I really like sending things off to musicians and getting things back and being in the on the stage and recording and collaborating. And so for me, I always loved a narrative aspect to the music. I struggle a little bit more if there's no prompt, which is why I very much admire what you do, Este, big time, because a lot of my inspiration does come from storytelling. I mean, songwriting is storytelling, but I mean a complementary medium, I suppose. Yeah, but again, I don't think you ever are one or the other. It's just you only have however many hours you're up during the day, and where do you want to allocate that?
Yeah.
Well said. Este, in your case, if I've done my research correctly, Made was your first thing to come out that you'd scored for outside of the band. But was that the first project you had been offered, or had you turned down a few things before then?
No, that was the first project I was ever offered. And again, I think that had a lot to do with the pandemic. I think that, before the pandemic, I was so laser focused on my band and songwriting and performing and touring. And then all this that was kaput. And I had all this time at home, especially after, it was really hard releasing a record in the middle of a pandemic and then not being able to tour it and not really having that creative outlet, because I love performing more probably than anything other than songwriting. Being in the studio and recording what I've written, that gets a little complicated for me because I'm very, very hard on myself and my playing. And with performing, it's like you did the thing, it happened, and that's it. This one-time thing. If you fuck up, it's what makes the performance that much more spicy.
Spicy.
But Yeah, I have a really good friend named Brett Hedblum, who called me and basically was just like, I'm making this project and I don't know if the music is right yet. Would you mind watching the pilot and kind of giving me notes? And I was like, sure, I don't, nothing but time. And then I watched it, I gave him notes, and then it kind of became, well, would you be willing to fix it? And that's kind of how he framed it. Like, would you fix the music? And I was like, sure. But yes, but like, does that mean what I think it means? And he was like, yeah, would you ever consider, composing? And I just kind of said yes. I think that at that point in my life, and I think since then, maybe my whole life actually, I tend to say yes blindly. The idea, I don't know. I think that like people that say yes have adventures, people that say no play it safe, and people that say maybe spend their whole life saying maybe, kind of like Hamlet, right?
Are those lyrics for the next album right there?
Oh,
There you go.
Well, I was in the room, so I want a third of the publishing. But anyway,
I'll get it published. I don't know. I think, yeah. So I've always had kind of an adventurous, outlook on especially about music, and yeah, to be able to be a composer, I think was not really something that was on my 2020 bingo card, but I'm embracing it. I'm fully in it.
well, Ariel, when I talk to composers and there's a team or 2 or 3 people involved, you kind of learn that everyone has their specialties. So for example, this is the top line person, this is the orchestrator. How would you define what you do versus what Este does?
Yeah, so Este and I had, unfortunately, we didn't really get to collaborate together, which I hope that changes.
Yeah, same.
But I did most of just the instrumental music in the show, and Este did the amazing covers for the end credits. So we didn't work together collaboratively in that way. But for me, in my creative process for the show, it's very small team. I mean, honestly, it's just me for the writing and orchestration. And then we were working on a schedule where I would just send it out, week by week, and my musicians would send back their recordings. I would mix it in, print it, send it to stage. So it was a really, I mean, I like working that way. I struggle sometimes of imagining how to expand the team, because I like having my fingers so much in everything. Like it means a lot to me to be able to orchestrate and mix and record. And, I just really enjoy those things. And sometimes you don't have time to do them all. And that's when I get help. But yeah, so it's just like my hands were on everything on this one.
Este, when people come to see you live, they see you play more than bass. You play every instrument, whether or not you want to admit that you play every instrument. When you're composing, does it ever start on the bass?
It actually mostly starts on the drums. I find that finding a rhythm and a BPM is really important, especially when you're trying to, find the emotion and not tell people how to feel. I think it's important to find a pace and a good one. So a lot of times we'll start with the BPM and a drum beat. And then it can kind of go, sometimes it's guitar, sometimes it's bass, sometimes it's piano. I mean, I found with this project in particular, I was really heavily relying on strings. Mm-hmm. That was like, I really want, aside from the voice, I wanted there to be a lot of, plucky strings and there's a lot of like slide and pedal steel. Mm-hmm. I found myself kind of gravitating towards those, sonically. But when I'm composing for TV film, when I'm doing something to picture, yeah, I love percussion and rhythm. So, and I think that's kind of my, I love the bass. Bass is my first instrument, but I think I started playing drums my dad put me on the drums for the first time when I was 2. So I've been playing And we had like 2 drum sets in our living room. So I've been playing drums.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how my dad taught us. He would be on one set and then we would be on the other one.
so your household, to cut you off there, sounds like the Van Halen household, where Eddie
I mean,
started off on drums and Alex was on guitar, and they eventually flipped, but everyone learned how to play everything.
yeah, I think that I mean, my mom was a guitarist, so I learned guitar from my mom and bass and drums from my dad. And then when I went to college, I was an ethnomusicology major, so my emphasis was Brazilian carnival drumming. So I was drumming like it was like going to camp. It wasn't like going to college. So
Wow.
I mean, and I think drum and bass, they're very, very, very much linked. I think that, they kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, I think rhythm is something that's really important to me first and foremost.
I've heard that Cyndi Lauper, what her main contribution generally is rhythm as opposed to the melody. So you never know who are the rhythmically oriented people. Ariel, I see a cello behind you. Are you primarily composing on keyboard or MIDI style?
So I was actually about to say, when Este was talking too, it's like, it's very nice to start on different instruments every time, because then you don't start keep making the same choices, repeating yourself. And so it's a nice way to just get different ideas going. So on this score, I worked with a clarinetist, cellist, violinist, trumpeter.
Right.
And then I myself played violin, cello, and guitar and percussion. And then there's electronics on it as well. And so for these cues, God, I would just start with different things all the time. But the thing, it's funny that you said, Este, that you were drawn to the the pluckier aesthetic for the songs, and me too with the score. One of the first themes I wrote for Meep has a lot of pizzicato strings on it. Just like her energy and vivaciousness and messiness and down to earthness.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's I never try to approach, I actually consciously try not to approach cues in the same way, just so you don't keep making the same, muscle memory.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, one stupid question for each of you, and then I'll let you roam free and get off this call. And Este, one of your credits is you're so not invited to my bat mitzvah.
Yes.
Did you have a theme to your bat mitzvah?
Yeah. And my my bat mitzvah theme was roller girl. I don't know if my parents really knew what that meant.
Boogie nights. And the full circle nature of working with
circle. I know. I had my bat mitzvah at a skate rink called Skateland in the Valley. I'd seen Boogie Nights on TBS, so I saw the highly edited version in 98. And then my bat mitzvah was in 99. So, and again, I don't think my parents fully comprehended what that meant when I was like, I want a roller girl themed bat mitzvah. But they let me do it, and I had hot pants and, I crimped my hair. I had glitter all over my face. It was very, very true to the Heather Graham of it all.
I'm impressed.
I didn't go to the Bema. It was just really just a party. I didn't do the whole nine. I basically had a party to celebrate being 13. That was my bat mitzvah.
And I'm dumbfounded by that answer. I thought you were going to say, yeah, basketball. I really liked the Lakers when I was 13.
Oh, I mean, I love the Lakers. I love the Lake Show, but no, I think I just was infatuated with PTA from his first movie. So, I mean, it all makes sense.
When I was on a Hollywood bus tour last week where they do the celebrity homes, the first house they pointed out was PTA. So that's how you know you're in company. Yeah, they went here. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's house. So I think he's graduated a little bit.
I don't know if he knows that people are doing that. That's it. That's interesting. Okay. Well, now. Now you know.
Fun fact. Well. Less creepiness here, Ariel. Are you going to say what project is next?
What project is next? I always get asked this, and I'm in the stage of them where like I can't say. But I have 2 series that I'm working on now that I'm really excited about, and a feature film. But in addition to A Small Light, a film of mine called Sanctuary is coming out soon, which I'm really excited about, as well as the album on Lakeshore.
Which hopefully they'll put out on vinyl. Am I right?
Hopefully they'll put, as
If
many
we
of
say it
them
enough
on.
times, it has to come out on vinyl. So hopefully Lakeshore / Hollywood / Disney puts it out on vinyl.
Yeah. Este, yours, when's the full album out?
I think, well, the way that they're rolling it out is it's like every episode, once it airs, I think 3 days later, the song
Starting
is on.
today.
The Till We Meet Again that Danielle did, and Cheryl, the song that Kamasi Washington did, the Charlie Parker song, I think come out today. So it's going to be, they're giving us little tidbits every week.
Yeah. Cool. And then the full album.
Or everything. I'm so proud of it.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll
And
tag all that in the copy. So I really must thank you 2 for the many years of great music that both of you putting out into the world. Looking forward to whatever is next, and just keep being both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Paltrocast.